Hey everyone, I have my 226-day-old bean here. That is my second cocoon nursery bean that started with 400 cocoons. And when I look through this part of the bean last few times, it looks like it's almost ready. It's just a bit too wet and it's clumping around few bits of bedding, mostly around few bits of egg carton that started in this bin holding up the cocoons. So it was intact for a long time, and when I started to pull it apart, it was a bit like wet but also kind of slimy, and the rest of the bean is nicely processed. It's almost ready to harvest, but there are like big clumps of material that will make harvest impossible. So what I did off camera, I added some fresh bedding here, and we have some worms in it. And I checked it yesterday, and it looks like worms are enjoying fresh bedding, so they definitely need some. So I decided, okay, let's divide this population. They have a fresh bedding here. It's resting like 4 days, I think, mixed with a bit of coffee, crushed eggshells, so it doesn't stick together. But what I'm going to do is to take this part with some nice worms here and just move it over to this bin. So I'm dividing the population of this one and starting a new bin here. I'm not counting worms this time, it's just going all with the bedding. I will not take out all of the fresh bedding from this bin. It's too mixed now because I started adding it before I decided what to do really. So a few more handfuls. Have nice guys here hanging in corner, so they can go too and start this new bin. And let's see how it looks. Yeah, it's a bit muddy and compacted. There's some fresh bedding on the bottom. Okay, we'll move it over too. So I think there's plenty of worms left in this bin, but this stuff underneath is a bit too muddy for my liking. Should we move over a few more or just leave them to fluff this bin on their own? Maybe a couple more. Yeah, it sounds very muddy and sticky. And the problem is I can't add any BTI to this bin because it's too muddy. And I have that, you know, flying insects problem. This one is nice and big. Okay, those guys are wriggling into the bin, into the bedding nicely. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed them, make it nice for them so they have something to eat. I will divide it between both bins. So I have a little bit of cauliflower, some carrot, some potato peels that are probably a little bit frozen still, but that's okay. We don't have worms here yet. Some tea bags. Okay. And I have some dry coffee as well, so I can add it on top and mix it as extra protection from the cold. Okay, and let's move this stuff down. So okay, this bin is ready. Hope they enjoy it. What I'm going to do now with this bin, I'm going to feed it, but first this is one egg box flapped in a food processor. So instead of adding that kind of bedding, like from the shredder, I'm going to add this fluff. So hopefully they can process it quickly, and hopefully it will absorb excess of the moisture. And also maybe it will help them to move around, because it looks like it's a bit too muddy, too compacted. And I feel like those worms may struggle a little bit to move in this environment. Yeah, it looks like it's enough worms to, you know, finish the process here. It looks like it's a lot of bedding, but it's just very fluffed stuff. Okay, let's create some trench for feeding. You can see plenty of worms still. I want to see how this bin is doing in the future. I may come back and, you know, take a few more worms from this bin and move it over to the other one. This is nice and big one. Let's move him here, and this one as well. Okay, I will remove all the ones that are here on the bottom, because I will dump more of this dry fluff. And I will give them rest of the food. Tea is just slightly damp. It's not wet. So I think the net effect should be 0 or from this food. But because we are adding some more dry bedding, it should help with the moisture level. Okay, so this is grit, crushed eggshells. So you couldn't see much here, but lots of dust. I'll bring this stuff over. And I will leave this bin uncovered for a while. I may come back with just a piece of paper. It's more to give worms some, protection from the light, maybe. But I want this stuff to dry out a little bit. Yeah, definitely too muddy, too sticky. Hopefully worms will be able to get through it, hide inside and enjoy the food, and maybe I will be able to harvest this bin in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. Okay, thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.